This is a 14-ounce package of shaved beef steak. It is a very thin sliced beef and works great in making steak sandwiches. You can find the prepackaged shaved beef at most grocery stores, but if you can't, you can cut your own beef steak, and this is done very easily by partially freezing the steak. It makes it nice and firm and easier to cut. You can make these cheesesteak sandwiches on a Blackstone grill, or you can use a cast iron pan like I am tonight. First, I'm cooking the onions and bell peppers. In my pan on medium heat, I added a couple tablespoons of oil to the bottom and 1 medium diced onion. I'm adding in a pinch of salt and black pepper and cooking for a couple minutes. Adding in 1 small diced green bell pepper, cooking and stirring for another 3 to 4 minutes or until the veggies soften. If you wanted, you could also add in some mushrooms. I like a little caramelizing on the onions. Once done, I'm removing and setting the onions and peppers to the side. In the same pan on medium-high heat, I'm adding in a little more oil and the shaved beef steak. I'm spreading out the beef and letting it cook for 20 to 30 seconds so it gets a nice browning. With the beef sliced so thin, it will only take 3 to 4 minutes, if that, for the beef to cook. I'm taking a couple forks and shredding the beef into smaller pieces. At the end of the steak cooking, I'm adding in my seasonings, and I'm just adding in a little salt and black pepper. You can add what you want. You could add in some garlic or onion powder, or even a couple drizzles of Worcestershire sauce for a little zing. Adding the onions and peppers back into the pan and giving everything a toss. It wouldn't be cheesesteak without the cheese, and tonight I'm using provolone cheese. Putting on my pan lid and letting that melt for 30 seconds to a minute. You can make your beef sandwich and leave the melted cheese on top, or you can toss it in with the beef and onions and peppers like I'm doing here. I like the cheese tossed because it makes everything nice and gooey. I'm serving the cheesesteak on toasted hoagie rolls and a side of coleslaw. I hope you give this easy cheesesteak sandwich recipe a try and enjoy. I had a nice sirloin steak and I thought I would make some tasty steak bites with onions and peppers with a side of steamed broccoli. So let's get started. The sirloin steak is nicely marbled. I'm going to trim some excess fat around the edges and cut the steak into 1 to 1.5 inch pieces. If you cut the pieces too small, they will tend to overcook quickly. I want this steak to be around a medium doneness. A key ingredient to making this dish is fresh cracked black pepper. It really adds a bite to the steak. I'm roughly grinding about a tablespoon of black peppercorns, and I will season the steak throughout the cooking. In a bowl along with the steak pieces, I'm adding in 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of fresh cracked black pepper, 1 teaspoon each of garlic powder and onion powder, 2 tablespoons of soy sauce, 2 tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce, and about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. Giving that a good mix, covering and marinating for about 30 minutes on the countertop. This will also allow the beef to come to room temperature before we sear it in the pan. I'm first sautéing my onions and peppers. You could also add in some mushrooms. I'm using my large cast iron pan and adding in 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 medium diced sweet onion, 1 green bell pepper, and 1 red bell pepper. Seasoning with a pinch of salt and some fresh cracked black pepper. Cooking and stirring for about 5 to 8 minutes or until the onions change color and the peppers soften. I still want a little crunch. About a minute right before the vegetables are done, add in 2 cloves of minced garlic. When done, remove the onions and peppers from the pan and make sure there is no leftover garlic in the pan so it doesn't burn. In the same pan on medium heat, I added enough oil to coat the bottom, and I'm placing in my steak bites, making sure there is space in between. I will need to cook these in 2 batches, searing about a minute on each side to make sure a nice crust forms. These are a nice size and will take about 3 to 4 minutes to cook. I'm looking for a medium doneness. Once all the beef is done, I'm turning my heat to a medium, adding all the beef back into the pan, along with 4 tablespoons of butter. Giving everything a toss until the butter is melted, and then I'm adding in 3 cloves of minced garlic. Cooking and stirring for about 20 seconds, and you will smell that wonderful garlic. Sprinkling in a teaspoon more of that fresh cracked black pepper, and I'm adding in the onions and peppers. Giving everything a toss to incorporate, and we are done. We are ready to eat. This is such a rich and satisfying dish. A hungry man meal. Serving tonight with some steamed broccoli. A nice side salad and a piece of homemade bread would also be tasty. I hope you give this steak bites with onions and peppers recipe a try and enjoy. If you like this video recipe, please hit the like and subscribe button. Remember to hit the bell next to the subscribe to make sure that you get my future video recipes. You can also find me on Facebook and at my website. Feel free to share this recipe and my channel with your friends and family. And until next time, much love.